Blog Talk Radio.
We are the UR Tennis Network. Our mission is to be the voice of tennis. We enlist a team of passionate enthusiasts to promote our sport. We strive to bring interesting perspectives on the many spins of tennis. Our goal is to provide the learners of our sport with current news and information from many angles. We seek active participation from communities interested in tennis, but tennis is not interested in them. We are expanding our outreach. Tennis is a true lifetime sport that needs to be talked about, and the UR Tennis Network pledges to pursue this idea relentlessly.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Parenting Aces radio show on Blog Talk Radio's UR Tennis Network. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and we have a really interesting show for you today. I'm really looking forward to today's guest and bringing him on and jumping into our conversation. But before I do that, I want to just remind my listeners that the NCAA Sweet 16 starts this Thursday in Athens, Georgia, and it's the men's and the women's team competition followed by the individual competition. So for those of you who are in the Athens, Georgia area, the Atlanta, Georgia area, or anywhere within driving distance, I really, really want to urge you to come out and support your favorite teams, bring your kids, and it's just an incredibly exciting time for college tennis and for tennis in general. And I will be there. I got my media credentials, so I'll be there covering the event as much as I can be over the next couple of weeks. And I hope to meet some of you. So if you're out in Athens over the next couple of weeks, please look for me and come up and introduce yourself, and let's get something cold to drink because it's likely to be hotter than blazes out there. And let's catch up, okay? So please look me up. You can tweet at me, you can email me, you can text me. You guys know how to get a hold of me. My contact information's all over ParentingAces.com. So please do reach out. All right, that said, without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about today's guest. His name is Michael Cooper, and Michael and I connected via Coach Rob Gurdon, who is the assistant women's coach at Purdue University. Rob put us in touch with each other and sent me a message saying, you got to have this guy on. He's awesome. He's working with my team, and he's done amazing work with them, and I think your listeners would really be interested in what he's doing and what he has to say. So I want to start by just saying a big thank you to Rob for looking out for all of us at Parenting Aces and making sure we have a great guest for you today. So let me tell you a little bit about Michael. He discovered his path to fulfillment and success through over 2 decades of research and development. He was born and raised in Miami, and he was a standout student athlete. He competed in BMX, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, and wrestling, and was really planning to play football at the collegiate level, but instead he chose to enlist in the Navy, and he was on the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier, where he was responsible for over 100 men. His coaching techniques emphasize knowledge transfer, skills building, and habit forming in the laws of success, tied specifically to the purpose of each individual. So in March of 2010, his lifetime of development and knowledge was reprogrammed and packaged through what he calls human performance mentors. And what came out of that was a collateral piece called the Missing Playbook. Michael is a certified life success consultant. He's an athlete, he's an entrepreneur, and he mentors athletes and organizations at every level to make breakthroughs in every aspect of life. His coaching provides guidance and self-management, and he has empowered thousands to navigate through the turbulent storms of life. The Missing Playbook mentorship philosophy brings forth a great deal of experience and is guaranteed to transform the lives of all participants of the program. Michael's been doing his work for over 20 years. He's been with both large and medium-sized organizations. He has coached, consulted, worked in business development, prospecting, sales, customer service, quality improvement, and marketing. He's revolutionizing the athletic coaching industry by delivering innovative education, solutions, and tools that produce remarkable results. So I am really excited to bring Michael on and to hear him discuss more about his program, Human Performance Mentors, and more about the Missing Playbook. So please join me in welcoming to the show Michael Cooper. Michael, are you on the air with us?
I am. Thank you very much. That was excellent to be introduced that way. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy and grateful to be here with you and all of your listeners.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing a little more in-depth description of what you do and how specifically you work with young athletes, because as you know, the target audience for Parenting Aces is the parents of junior tennis players. And all of us are trying to help our kids navigate this crazy system of junior tennis in the U.S. to help our kids become not only the best tennis players they can be, but the best human beings they can be. And it seems to me as if the work you're doing with Human Performance Mentors really will offer us a lot of great information on that pathway. So I understand, though, that you're rebranding your company. You have a new website that's under construction right now called mcempowers.com. So why the rebrand? What kind of was the impetus behind that?
Yeah, well, we wanted to rebrand from Human Performance Mentors into Michael Cooper. I've asked clients, when they think of Michael Cooper, which stands out to you, inspire or empower? And though many said I was inspirational, the majority felt I empowered them to accomplish their PVG, which is short for purpose, vision, and goals. This is one of the philosophies and methodologies that I use when I teach, when I'm mentoring and leading athletes and organizations through my Missing Playbook.
So tell us a little more about what the Missing Playbook is.
Well, the Missing Playbook is a guide to mental strength and conditioning and life skills development.
And it's an actual book that people can purchase, or how do we get our hands on that?
Well, it is actually being developed into a book and several other information products that can be available. Right now, it's being delivered to individual and team programs with workbooks and different tools and exercises that individuals and organizations can use to kind of follow through with the information that I'm sharing with them, to kind of recognize and relate and assimilate it in their mind, so that way they can apply it into their lives.
Great. All right. Well, so let's kind of connect what you do with what Parenting Aces has been doing. Recently, I've shared an article on Parenting Aces called, it was a guest post, and it was about why we should choose tennis. And the writer of that post is a fellow tennis parent, and he talked about, the demise of American tennis and how we haven't had a champion since Andy Roddick won the U.S. Open in 2003. And then, it's how USTA really seems to be so focused on having players in the second week of the U.S. Open, and that the cost of developing a player through to age 18 is about $475,000, but we're still not getting these U.S. champions. So what do you see as the problem with U.S. tennis? Is it a coaching issue, or is it something else? And how does your program and the Missing Playbook, how can that help change things?
Well, I am a game changer. For example, I have a junior tennis player that I've been mentoring for the last year in South Africa. And his father had recently just contacted me, was sharing with me that he had completed and won 7-6, 7-5 to a player that he should have beaten with more comfort. And he went on to say it was his son's mental game that helped him overcome his physical defects and defaults. And I quote, I'm telling you, his mental game is the only reason why he survived that match. He just kept going into that with me as he was explaining what happened with his son. Growing up as an athlete, I was always taught to focus on the physical and technical aspects of my game. Never did I have anybody directing my thoughts on the mental aspects of the game. And, time has passed, but times haven't changed, and athletes are still being trained mostly on their physical techniques. And even though it's more recognized to teach a player about his mental game, what's commonly being taught doesn't compete with the missing playbook. The missing playbook, it's a game changer because it leads athletes to recognize, relate, assimilate, and apply their mind in a very unique way. So it's a very powerful process that I think is missing out there in the athletic and tennis arena, and beyond tennis. It goes beyond in all the different sport arenas.
Right. And, I think, most of my readers and listeners are very familiar with the importance of the mental side of tennis. It is a key factor, especially as the kids get older. We see that they tend to all be really good tennis players. They can all hit the ball. They can all move. They're all fit. They all, seem to understand how to play the game. And it comes down to just a few key points a lot of times, like it did, apparently with your South African player. These close matches really do come down to the mental piece. So it'll be interesting, as we get further into our conversation to hear more about how you work with players. We do have a caller on the line. I'm going to just bring them on real quick. Caller from area code 847-529. Did you have a question, or are you just listening? Oh, hello, 847-529. All right, so I think that person's just listening in. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut us off there, Michael. But so we have this traditional way of teaching tennis in the U.S. That mainly is concerned with the physical skills of tennis. What's missing?
Well, I notice a lot of times when I'm on the court, watching coaches instruct players, they give the player the benefit of the doubt. And what I mean by this is they direct the player to, let's say, get your feet around the ball. Once you get around that ball, move your feet. Then they say, do you get me? Do you understand me? And the player, usually says, yeah. And most of the coaches will leave it at that and just keep on coaching. And I always ask, when a player says yes, I'll always ask them, what do I mean? And most of the time, the athlete will respond with a shoulder shrug, or they're accompanied with a I don't know. And I'm thinking, to myself, well, you need to know. If a player doesn't establish in his or her mind, what the purpose is of what the coach is asking, then they'll not be able to build a vision in their mind of what it looks like to perform the task. And this is why coaches are constantly repeating themselves over and over and over again for players to perform a specific task, and then the player's not getting it. So what the missing playbook will teach the coaches and the athletes is to establish the purpose. What's the reason why you're doing it? You want a result. Okay, then you need to build a vision, what it looks like to perform this task in your mind's eye, and then set the goal so that players and coaches will produce the desired results much quicker and more proficiently. Now, that's a lot easier said than done. So what I do when I'm coaching an athlete, and I have them working through the missing playbook over and over again, I want them to really, go through it until they actually get it. They own it. It just becomes one with them. I see way too many, and parents do this as well. They're asking their children to do a specific thing, and if you're asking, let's for example, if you ask, like I was giving you an example just a second ago about getting your feet on the ball, there's a reason for that, there's a purpose for that. And the purpose for doing that is obviously you want to get yourself into a better position so you can hit a better shot. But if the player doesn't understand what the reason is why you're doing it, and they can't build a picture, knowing what it looks like to do it, this is why you're asking them to do it 40, 50 times, or going through it for weeks or months, instead of getting them to understand it and picture it so they can actually do it much faster. So that's a really big problem that I'm seeing, not only with coaches but as well with parents.
you just used the word results, and one of the big kind of conversations that's been going on lately, especially in the junior tennis coaching world, is that we've become so focused on results in this country with the way our junior competition system is set up, and we've gotten away from long-term development, and that's a problem. So can you speak to that a little bit in terms of the work that you do with athletes and helping not just the athletes but their parents understand that the process isn't necessarily about immediate results but maybe about long-term development?
Sure. I mean, everybody's looking for instant gratification. Everybody wants it now. And, life doesn't work that way, as we know. The process of creation works outside of time. So the biggest thing is, you have to establish, what's your purpose and what your purpose is. What's your reasoning why. And once you do that, you can start to build a vision. So it's like goal setting is a intellectual exercise. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
An intellectual process?
Sure.
Okay. So when I ask, if you ask an athlete that or sometimes parents that, even some coaches, they may not know what that is. And basically, it's a thinking process. So goal setting is a thinking process. You actually have to sit down and think and put your ideas down on paper. And goal achieving is a lawful process. Do you understand what I mean by that?
A lawful process?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't understand what you mean by that.
Okay. So if you take a seed and you plant it in a pot of soil, okay, what does that seed require?
Water and nutrients.
Exactly. So it requires attention. So as long as you're giving it attention, you're watering and nourishing the seed, not too much, okay, because we want instant gratification. So what happens is because it's not growing fast enough, we start pouring buckets of water into it, trying to force it to grow, and what happens is we end up drowning and killing it. The other thing that happens is, we live in a world of temptation, and because everybody else can't see what's going on, they start telling you what you can or can't do, or come check this out. Research has shown 98 out of every 100 people are drifters, and that's because they don't have definiteness of purpose in their lives. And then I'll ask, when you're starting to water and nourish and you start to get distracted and you neglect the pot and you don't water it, then it also dries out and dies. So the only way that this idea, okay, so let me ask another question, because I always ask this too, is what's the starting point of all worthwhile achievement? I ask a lot of athletes and coaches that, or parents, what's the starting point of all worthwhile achievement, and they don't know the answer. Do you know what I'm getting at? Or you know the answer to that?
I'm guessing goal setting, but I don't know.
Okay, so it falls in line with that, okay? But the starting point of all worthwhile achievement is having definiteness of purpose. I definitely want to be a top tennis player. I definitely want to win Wimbledon. I definitely want to play college tennis. I definitely want to be a straight A student. I definitely want to have healthy, loving relationships with my family and my friends and my coaches. It's just definite. You have like a love affair with this idea, right? It's like an obsession. Once you decide definitely what you want, then you have to back that with a definite plan to produce a definite result. And that's basically what the Missing Playbook teaches, is how to start getting clear on what your purpose, your vision, and your goals are. Because a big exercise, and this goes in line with what you're asking me, is like I'll be out in all these speaking places, and I'll have everybody stand up. Maybe there's 50 people in the room, or there could be thousands of people in the room. The more people that are in the room, the better, because it makes more noise, it's more dramatical. So I'll say, everybody stand up and hear all this noise. And I'll say, okay, if you write your goals down, okay, stay standing if you don't sit down. And I actually have to repeat that several times so that way, the ones who don't will sit, because they're kind of intimidated or embarrassed, and they don't want to sit down and look like a fool or look like they don't write their goals down. But eventually I get them to sit. And then you have another portion that are standing. And I'll say, all right, now if you read your goals every night before you go to bed, and every morning when you wake up, and throughout the day, you read your positive affirmations of what it is you're looking to achieve, stay standing. If not, sit down. Then you have the rest sit down. You might have one or two standing. And I'll always say, congratulations, you, one or two or three, however many there are, you're most likely to succeed because you're writing down your goals and you're reading them on a daily basis. Because when you think about the seed and you're planting it into the soil, you plant this idea that you want to be this, professional athlete or whatever it might be. And you're looking at it every night, you're looking at it every day, you're working on it, you're watering it, you're nourishing it. And by law, it's going to grow as long as you give it the right amount of attention, not too much, not too little. And I say it doesn't mean the rest of you are not going to be successful. It just means you have to start writing out exactly what it is that you want so you can start leading yourself with the right action to get the results you want. So I think that's a big problem. Is most people don't write things down.
Is there an age at which this should start, this process, or are you never too young and never too old?
The moment we pop out, the mind's being developed, it's being impressed with all kinds of thoughts, ideas, and images. And, that's why they say, the first 10 years of your life are like a sponge. Like babies are like a sponge that's absorbing all kinds of thoughts, ideas, and images. And, we have the ability to accept and reject, or even neglect, but the problem is we're just accepting all kinds of things. So a lot of false and limiting beliefs are being stored in there. And then when you go through your teenage years, it starts to get a little worse. You're being impacted with a lot of outside influence. And as teenagers, we know, I'm 40, I'll be 41 this year. So when I look back when I was a teenager, and I remember during those times, I'd be like, you talk to your parents or, people are starting to be like, you're the idiot, you don't know what it's like to be a 13-year-old or 15-year-old, and, I always tell them, there's a lot of things you know, right? And they'll say yes. And there's a lot of things you don't know, right? And they'll say yes. Well, there's a lot of things you don't know, that you need to know. And,
right.
It's really, so it's really important that, as we're going through and we're understanding ourselves, it's never too soon to start. I have 3 young children myself. My son is 12 and my daughters who are 10 and 8, and they're competitive, and they're involved with activities. And the sooner you can start to impress the right ideas, right, the right images onto your kids, then, they're constantly being trained and developed anyways, but a lot of times we're letting TVs babysit them. We're not really paying attention to what's going on outside of the home, and you have no idea what's being impressed into them when they're at their schools because you're not with them. There's a lot of things that go on. So it's never too soon to start training and developing with the mental aspect, but it certainly can be too late because I certainly deal with a lot of athletes, some professional pro tennis players and even some celebrity, pro tennis players that are lost, and they've retired, and a lot of them are struggling and going through lots of chaos and suffering and pain, and that's because they had all this physical and technical ability growing up, and that's great. I'm glad you went on and you're winning tournaments and you're doing great with tennis, but you're failing in the game of life. You're emotionally bankrupt, etc.
Right. That's a big challenge, and balancing all that is a big challenge. So, I think the goal setting piece is crucial. I think it's a big challenge as a parent to impress that on our children a lot of times, and I wish more coaches, just their regular athletic coaches, would insist on the goal setting. I think that would be a really great first step into helping these kids understand the importance of writing down the goals and then being held accountable for them.
Well, the big problem with that is most people don't know how to set, discover, and achieve goals. Anybody can be a goal setter. That's very simple. Okay, so you can ask your kids, any of you listeners that are out there, ask your kids or ask people, hey, what are your goals? And they'll probably name a couple things. They'll probably tell you, I want to get good grades in school, or I want to be a number one tennis player, or I want to make millions of dollars, or I want to be endorsed by Nike, whatever. They'll have all their different goals that they can tell you. But goal achieving is an entirely different process. There's not that many goal achievers. It's like less than 2% of the people out there are actually achieving goals and being happy and peaceful and fulfilled most of the time with their lives. And this goes back to, what is the starting point of all worthwhile achievement? It's that definiteness of purpose. Write down definitely what you want to do and create that plan. So yes, coaches are not, I'm not going to say all coaches, because there are definitely coaches out there that are doing that, but the majority of them are not.
Right. Well, so that leads me to my next question. A while ago, I wrote an article about the tennis triangle, and, people who have been involved in tennis understand that tennis typically junior tennis specifically, is made up of the player, the parent, and the coach. And, I wrote in my piece, is one side supposed to be longer than the other? Is it an equilateral triangle, or is it isosceles? And we've had discussions on that topic periodically over the years that I've been doing Parenting Aces. So it seems to me, though, that there might be a fourth player in all this. Is there a possibility that using the metaphor of the triangle is incorrect, and maybe we need to be looking at junior athletic development in terms of a square? What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, well, there's two ways to look at that, because I actually use the triangle when I'm talking to people as far as I call it a training triangle. So in the training triangle, you have mental, physical, and technical, and I always ask, which is the most important, and obviously we're going to get the mental. But we're spending most of our time on the physical and the technical training. Now, when you're talking about it as far as a team of people, a team of experts that are around this athlete or individual that's going through improving the quality of their life, then it's not really a me thing, it's a we thing, which is what you're talking about. You're looking at it as a triangle between coach, parent, and athlete, correct?
Correct.
But, yes, you did it as a square, or I even look at it as a circle. Right? What's this athlete's circle of influence? And within this circle, there needs to be obviously the parents, and there obviously needs to be the coaches. So you have your tennis coach, okay, which is obviously working on the technique, and there's physical things going on. You have a fitness coach, that's working on your fitness, your strength, your flexibility, range of motion, speed, etc. And what really is missing, which is surprising, is the mental guy or the mental gal. The mental coach, which really is the most important. It doesn't discount all the other coaches, because, as I said, it's a we thing. But if we're just focusing on the physical and the technical, it's the mental that is going to start to get the physical and technical aspects, quicker, faster. We're going to be able to start making faster, quicker decisions and start producing results much quicker and faster when you're starting to teach them how to use their mind. So when they're working with their tennis coaches, and when they're working with their fitness coaches, and when they're talking with their parents, all of these people within this circle are communicating with each other. They're collaborating on ideas, giving each other feedback, So, I've done stuff a lot with Rick Macy, and, him and I, if we're on the courts or working with some athletes, he'd give me feedback. I give him feedback, and that feedback is crucial. Same thing with the parents. They're giving me feedback. And, all the information that we're gathering is helping us to help the athlete and everyone around, the circle. So whether you want to look at it as a square, whether you want to look at it as a circle, definitely 100% there needs to be a team of people that includes the mental, the physical, the technical, the family, the love, all the things that encompass it. It all has to be there.
So when you're working with a young athlete, you're obviously, if you're being hired by the parents, let's assume, to help their child reach a higher level in our example, tennis, is there other work you're doing with the child as well that extends beyond the tennis court? And if so, what is that, and how does that work?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what really is a big difference is, I'm a certified life coach. My whole purpose is, when I was growing up as an athlete, I wish I had a mentor in my life back then. When I was 11, my parents, I went through a divorce with my parents. My family was broken up. And I had a tough time during the second decade of my life. The first decade of my life was fantastic. It was incredible. I was the youngest of four. My parents were together. All of us were thriving and successful. Us kids are successful. My oldest sister, she's a very successful teacher. My other sister is a successful physician's assistant. My brother's an F-15 fighter pilot. So there's been success. And then when my family broke up, when I was 11, everything started to decline. I started to get upset and depressed and angry. I would tell my friends, what was happening in my personal life, and they made fun of me. They didn't know any better, So they were poking at me, making fun of it. So that was very hurtful. So my grades started to decline. My relationships started to decline. I wasn't so happy and fulfilled with what was going on in my life, so I was struggling. So with what I do, it's not just about tennis. It's not just what's happening on the tennis court, because if you're struggling with your relationships, that's going to affect you on the tennis court. If you're struggling in school, that's going to affect you not only on the tennis court, but with your relationships. It's going to affect your health. I mean, everything is tied together. So when I'm working with athletes, I'm helping them, improve in every area of their life. Spiritually, physically, with their health, with their relationships, with their school, financially, which, of course, when they're younger, they don't really need to focus on the financial because, the parents are taking care of that aspect, but eventually they'll need to learn about that. So it's really helping them understand things as a whole. And I'll give you an example. I have one of my tennis players who's actually getting ready to go play at Cornell University. He came out to the court one day, and I just could tell that something was not right based on his physical behavior as he was walking on the court. So I'd asked him, I said, "What's going on, buddy?" Now he's going to tell me what he thinks I want to hear. "No, I'm great, coach. I'm positive. I'm ready to go." I said, No. I said, What's going on in your head? What's going on? And he just wanted to say, "No, I'm great. I'm good. I'm ready to go." So he goes out onto the court, and he's playing a practice match, but he's also playing against a player that was older, better, stronger, and it was going to be an excellent, opportunity for him to grow. And he could have definitely beat this kid as well if he would have stayed and been on purpose, right? His definiteness of purpose should have been to, I'm coming out here to win and stay focused, et cetera, et cetera. But the first set, he was just getting crushed. It wasn't very fun to watch. So not that many people are around the court watching because, I always tell people, if you're doing what you love and loving what you do, people are going to love watching you do it. Okay, that's why when you go to a tournament and you're walking around and you're watching different matches and you see, let's say 2 girls are playing, they're 13 years old, and they're crying and freaking out, and how we've seen them on the tennis court. It's not so fun to watch that match, but like 2 courts down, there's these 2 people, like they're really going at it, fighting each other. That's like, wow, this is incredible. Look at these 2. So I tried to talk and get in his head a little bit, and in the second set, he started to turn it on, and now it became like this monster boxing match, these 2 going at it in the ring, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. Like, it was just amazing to watch. People were coming around the court, and then when it was all over with, they went 1-1 in sets. I asked him when he came off the court, I said, "So what was on your mind when you first walked out here?" He's like, "Well, I didn't really, do well on a quiz, and my girlfriend," and I'm like, "So where should your mind have been when you first walked out onto this court?" So it should have been here on the court playing tennis. I said, but instead it was drifting. It was drifting on to what was going on with your girlfriend. It was drifting on what happened in your school, and you went on purpose. So this is why it's so important to be clear on your purpose, vision, and goals, not just in tennis, but in every area of your life.
So learning how to, we call it in our house, pigeonhole the extraneous stuff, is a learned skill for sure. And those who've been listening a while, you guys know I'm a big yoga proponent. I do yoga on a regular basis, and my yoga instructor talks a lot about mindfulness, and she works with a lot of junior players too, and works on, again, mindfulness with them, with these young kids. Is that what you're talking about here, Michael, is, staying present, staying in the moment? And how do you work with these young players especially? Well, gosh, it's probably not any easier working with the older players, but to teach that staying on purpose, that mindfulness, that pigeonholing, there have to be some specific things we can practice to get better at that, right?
That's what's in the missing playbook. That's why I say it's the playbook that's missing in your life, because there is information and philosophies and methodologies within it that are going to lead an athlete from where they are in their lives, which most people are experiencing chaos and suffering and pain to some degree, some at a high degree, and ultimately they want to be experiencing peace and happiness and lasting fulfillment in all these areas of their lives. So it's a matter of getting them started on the right track to start creating the right thinking habits, because a lot of them have, negative thinking habits. They don't know how to use their mind, and they don't understand what the primary cause of their results are, and they have negative attitudes. So there's a lot of things that have to be put into place, and like I said, the sooner you can start, the younger you can start helping these athletes understand how important it is to stay focused in the now. Like if you just stay focused in the now, you'd be amazed at what you can do and how well you can do it. A long time ago, they came out with this club, and you'll all, be aware of what it is. It was called the TGIF Club. Thank God it's Friday, right? Are you a part of that club, or were you ever part of that club?
No, but yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Right. But I used to have a membership to that club way back, and then I canceled my membership to that Thank God It's Friday club, and I started to be part of the TGIT Club. Thank God It's Today. Mm-hmm. And I really liked that club, and I still have a membership to that Thank God It's Today. But then, again, after that, I just kept thinking and really going through a personal self-discovery process, and I was like, I'm really happy and I'm really thankful right now. So I just started, and I might have even coined it, I don't know, but I just came up with TGIN, Thank God It's Now. And right now, I'm here talking with you, and I'm just focused on being here and in this moment talking with you. I'm not thinking about what's going to happen after we get off this call. I'm not thinking about what happened 5 minutes before, 20 minutes, or yesterday, before the call. I'm focused on what I'm doing here right now. And, athletes, parents, coaches, all of us, we have to learn how to focus in the now. And the way to do that, again, it all goes back to PVG. It all goes back to purpose, vision, goal. That's your roadmap. It's just like a car has a GPS. Well, we have the PVG. And you have to learn how to develop the PVG and follow the PVG, because that's what's going to lead you from where you are to where you want to go. That's really the key to the whole thing.
I'm guessing that nobody would argue with you that in order to be successful in whatever endeavor we're undertaking, we have to remain present and we have to remain focused on the task at hand. But the trick is doing it. And I know I have moments and hours and days and months where I'm really good at it, and then I have others where I really stink at it, and I find myself drifting constantly, that my mind is scattered in a million directions. And I'm sure most people, I would guess, are like that, where we have those moments of clarity where we can stay focused. But certainly, the challenge is to figure out how to bring yourself back once you've drifted off. And I think that's really tricky. So before I let you delve into that, I think I have another caller on. Let me just see if they have a question. It's area code 561409. Are you there?
Yes. Hi, I'm here.
Hi. Did you have a question for Michael or a comment?
Yes. Hi. How are you, Michael? How are you, Lisa?
Great. Thank you. Who are we speaking with?
Hello.
My name is Liz. I'm really intrigued by this whole concept of the missing playbook and how you're trying to, help teach our children to be present in the moment. And like Lisa said, her yoga teacher and my yoga teacher, other people have, come across similar philosophies, and you're saying that your missing playbook is what's missing. Can you just give me a little bit of an idea of what some of those methodologies are, or how you put them into play that is different, so that if I want to sign up with you, I'll have a little idea of what I'd be getting from that?
Sure. Well, the missing playbook it consists of 6 modules, and one of the first things that we do is we go through a process of the balance wheel, and we want to help ourselves get balance in all these different areas of our lives that I mentioned. I focus on 5 main areas: spirituality, relationships, health, profession, which obviously would fall under school and education, and then financial. And then once we get balanced and see where we have imbalances, actually, when we're going through that exercise, we go through a process of unpacking. And unpacking is where you have all these emotions, all these feelings that are buried alive that need to come out. And you have to go back and review these things that you've gone through in your life, because everything you've gone through in your life has been on your purpose. But you just didn't know how to understand these things that you're going through at the time. So now you can have a mentor who can lead you to and help you understand these real life situations that you were led through, so you can go back and regain that information, that knowledge, that newfound knowledge, and you can apply moving forward into your lives and get all this baggage, off of your chest, off your back, whatever you want to call it, and then get into the purpose and the vision and the goal setting. Then in the second module, we get into emotional intelligence, understanding, your emotions and your feelings, where these feelings and emotions are coming from, so you can manage yourself through these different areas and challenges that you're going through. And then also you need to become aware of others' emotions and feelings so you can manage your relationships with them. A lot of us have these emotional hijackings, and we need to learn how to go into this third module, which is knowing your opponent. And life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. So it's a matter of understanding what your number one opponent is, what your number one enemy is, because the opponent doesn't necessarily come dressed in a guard suit. Okay? The opponent comes in the form of lots of other things, but we have to understand what it is. And once you do discover what this is, it's going to change your life dramatically as far as how you keep yourself emotionally in control and stay focused mentally moving forward. You have different things that we do as far as journeying into the mind, where you're actually understanding what the primary cause of your results are. A lot of people don't understand, what it is. And when we talk about getting into attitude and what attitude is, most people don't know what attitude is. It goes beyond, good and bad. So we want to help them understand what attitude is, so that way they can start thinking into results that are going to produce, those results that make them happy and give them peace of mind and fulfillment. Now, the fourth module is getting into understanding that there's disciplines that I feel are a true champion, like rectitude, doing the righteous thing, having courage and benevolence, being kind and honest and loyal. And these are different disciplines that I feel are really true to be not only a champion on the athletic arena, but just in all areas of your life. And when you get into initiative and leadership, understanding what initiative is and leading ourselves to take the initiative, which is really doing the right things without being asked to do them. So when you start to tie all of these modules together, it starts to create a new mindset, new thinking habits that's really going to lead individuals to be happy and fulfilled in their lives. Now, this is a very challenging process. Mental training is the toughest training of them all. Because when you go out and do physical and technical training, it's easy to see things and feel things right away in the physical realm of things. But with the mental training, going back to what I was talking about, planting that seed in the soil, and it takes time for things to these roots to grow, and the flower or the tree, whatever it is that's going to pop out the ground with all these fruits, which are the results that we're looking for. That takes time. And because we don't write things down and we don't have a clear path, we don't have a definite plan, this is at least what you were talking about as far as how you drift sometimes, and Liz, you may experience this too, and with yourself and with your kids. But it's very important to go through, have a mentor, whether it's myself or someone else. You definitely should have that mental coach, that trainer who goes through and is able to lead you through these different aspects, so that way you can put it all together and be happier. There's too much struggling out there. It's sad to see.
Liz, did that answer your question?
It did, Lisa. I have one more thought on this. I notice when my daughter gets really, emotionally upset about something and she's going out to play a game, the way she reacts to it isn't always the way that I would hope she's going to react. Do you have any advice on how, maybe I can help her change her reaction so she'll play a better game?
Sure. And that's when I was going into talking about your number one opponent, like the opponent doesn't come dressed in a guard suit. So life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. So, Liz, I'll ask you, what do you think is your number one enemy?
My emotions getting in the way.
Well, we definitely get emotional, but think about what I said. So life is 10% what happens to us, 90% how we react to it. So what is our number one enemy?
The way we react to it.
Yes, our reaction is our number one enemy. The opponent is not mom coming over saying, I told you to pick your room up or get your homework done. It's not the coach getting in your face. It's not you missing the shot. So one of the things that I ask my clients to utilize, and you can write this down if you want, some will, some won't, so what, next. Sometimes you're going to make a shot, sometimes you're not. So what, next. Because if you allow yourself to get emotionally hijacked for 2-3 minutes, especially in tennis, okay, the match can be over pretty fast. So it's really learning how to emotionally control yourself. So you miss the shot, and instead of taking your racket and slamming it on the ground, or I've seen some wonderful things out there, which I'm sure you all have seen. Kids getting emotionally out of control. You have to have self-discipline. You have to have self-control of your mind, of your thoughts, keeping your mind on what it is that you want and off of what you don't want. And Liz, where do you think all that comes from?
Training, but inside myself, practice.
Well, sure.
Being taught.
But as far as being emotionally in control, as far as learning how to keep yourself on track and keep your mind on what you want and off of what you don't want, what is a tool, now I'm giving you some hints, what is a tool that you can use that's going to help keep you on point and not drifting?
Oh, I don't know, Michael. Can you answer it for me?
Someone's not paying attention. This is why mental training is tough. So, purpose, vision, goals, PVG. That's the starting point of all worthwhile achievement.
Okay. Thank you so much. That really helps me out a lot. I really appreciate letting me be on the show to ask this question, Lisa. I love your show.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks for calling in. So, Michael, I want to just ask you, because my son's 17 now. He's almost 18. God. And, as our kids get older and get closer to the end of their junior tennis years, the problems seem to become more important, more challenging, more difficult to manage. And there's some times where my son will come to me and say, you know what, I can't compete right now. I can't do it. I've got too much going on. I can't compartmentalize it. I can't set it aside. I need a break. And my response is typically, okay, I'm proud of you for recognizing that. Take the break and let me know when you're ready to come back, and, we'll start again. Is that an appropriate response, or is there something better or different that I should be doing?
Yeah, I would never, ever, ever support I can't. So that's not in the vocabulary with me and in my clients. Initially it is in some of them, and then I lead them into I can, and I will, and I must. So when he comes at you and he says, I just can't do this, I can't, then I'll say, you're right. You're 100% right. And then they look at me with this face, what do you mean? Well, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And what we need to start teaching him how to do is, he's overwhelmed. He gets a lot of things on our plate, and it's just not just him. This is an all of us thing. So he's got all these things that he has to pay attention to. Think about the plant, right? Think about that pot of soil that you have to water and nourish. And if you live in a garden, right, and you have all these different sections of your garden. In this section over here, I have my relationships. In this section over here, I have my health, physically, mentally, emotionally. In this section over here, I have my professional area, which right now for me is school and sports, and obviously thinking about what my career is going to be. And in this section over here is my spirituality, whatever that is for, you and, whoever you listeners out to, whatever that is for you. And then I have this area over here, for my education. And, you have all these different areas of your life that you have to pay attention to. And it's not about staying focused 100% in one area. It has to do with balance. That's what I was talking about in the beginning of working with me through the playbook. The first thing we do is we want to see where you have imbalances. Where are you not paying attention in your life? So it sounds like he's neglecting certain areas of his life, okay? And when we neglect certain areas of our lives, what happens? Think about the garden.
Yeah, they die.
Right, starts to dry out, starts to die, weeds start to grow in there, so it kind of gets a little ugly, kind of gets a little, I'm just not easy about this. The natural state of the human mind is to be at ease, and we create dis-ease by disrespecting the mind, with negative thinking. When you're born, you're born with two envelopes. One is marked rewards, one is marked penalties. So when you operate out of a positive mental attitude, you will be rewarded. Life will reward you. When you operate out of a negative mental attitude, I can't, this stinks, it's too hard, I just don't have the time, I can't, well, then life is going to penalize you. So it sounds like we need to help him shift, make a shift from a negative mental attitude. And I'm not saying that your son is like some negative bad kid. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about his mind needs to be trained and developed, because it's always being trained and developed. But it needs to start being trained and developed with the right information that's going to help him start learning about his mind, which is the only thing he has 100% control over. But the problem is, think about this. Has he ever used a remote control car? And I'm sure any of you listeners out there, if you've ever used a remote control car, you know what I'm talking about?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so when you have the remote control car, okay, so imagine your son, he's got this remote control car and he's playing with it, and he directs it. I want it to go to, if he turns it to the left, if he turns it to the right, it's going to do that. If he goes forward or backward, it's going to do that. He's controlling this car. Now, if somebody walks over to him, a buddy or a mom or whoever, and grabs the remote out of his hand, give me that. And they just want to start, directing it, he's going to get upset. Hey, give me that. I don't want it to go that way, or I'm playing with it. It's mine, right? This is what's happening to all of us in our lives. Your mind is the remote. Your body is the car. But we're not taking control of the remote. We're not taking control of the mind. We're allowing outside influence to control the remote, which is directing the body into all these different directions, and we're not happy about it. We're overwhelmed. I can't. It's too hard. And this is false and limiting beliefs. So it's a matter of helping him create new thinking habits so he can create new beliefs. And how do you think he can do that?
Through practice, and through goal setting and all the things that we've been discussing. But I wanted to ask then, so how does the work you do with the athletes fit in with the overall training plan, and is there a periodization piece of it that comes into play? Because what I've noticed as a parent, and I have zero experience as a coach, so, take what I'm going to say with a grain of salt, but from a periodization standpoint, there are times that these athletes need a break from competition. They need a break from the physical training. Their body needs time to rest and recover, and so does their mind. And so does your work follow or fall into that periodization plan as well? So if a coach is putting together a training plan that incorporates the physical training, the on-court training, and the mental training, how do you fit into that? Can you kind of go into that a little bit?
Yeah. Mental training is a 24/7, 365-day-a-year, gig. It doesn't go away. Your mind is always being trained and developed. Unless you take a moment to do some meditation, which I do, and which I recommend and lead my athletes on how to do that. There is moments of meditation, but mental training never stops. Your mind is constantly being bombarded, through your 5 physical senses. And there's a lot of other factors that, I'm just sharing stuff. Obviously, we don't have much time on this 1-hour call for me to go deeper into, the missing playbook. But there's some very profound, information and exercises that lead these athletes, like your son, to get from where he is now to where he wants to go, and that takes time. So initially what I'll do is I'll do like a 90-day initial program where I'll start working with them one-on-one, and there's some intensives that can be done. So like in like the first week, I spend the first week with them Monday through Friday, an hour a day, and like leading and helping him get familiarized with the playbook. Then once he's getting familiarized with that, we back it down, for the weeks after, once a week, where I'm constantly taking him through and teaching him things, through the playbook, but also tying it in specifically to what he's going through in his life, and then he has access to me 24/7. So there's not like, hey, great session. What's your son's name?
Morgan,
great session today, Morgan. I'll see you next week, champ. And then I don't talk to him for 7 days. That's not me. I'm texting him constantly. I'm talking with him regularly. They know that they have 24/7 access to me. If you need something, you text me. If you want to call me, you call me. My phone sleeps on my pillow. That's the type of commitment that I'm giving to my clients, because I understand how challenging it is and how important it is to mentally train and develop them with the skills that they need to essentially be successful, not just in their sport, but in the game of life. And that's a constant, day in, day out grind, and let's get to it. So it takes time. So I know that results is what matters most in the game of life. Okay, it doesn't matter if he's an athlete or you're a parent or a coach or a doctor or a lawyer, whoever you are. Results is what matters most in the game of life. And I know that we want results instantly. Now, some results will come quickly. Some results will come, further down the road, depending on how big the goal is. So my purpose is to help him stay on his track and not get distracted, which he's going to have temptation come at him every single day. But keep him focused on this path, so that way over time he is learning how to become responsible, a responsible young man, and grow into a responsible gentleman, where he can lead himself through this game of life peaceful, happy, and fulfilled in every area of his life. Now, that takes some time. They say it takes 21 days to create a habit. Well, sometimes it takes longer. It just all depends. So it's a constant grind. So there is no, let's just talk for 2 weeks and then he's got it, and then we'll take a break from mental training for 6 weeks. Well, there's going to be a lot of training in those 6 weeks that he's getting, and it just might be the right programming that's being, processed into him. That make sense?
Yes. I think we have another question on the line from 847529. Did you have a question?
Hi.
Hi. Who's
Hello.
that?
Hey, it's Rob Gurdon.
Oh, hey, Rob. How are you?
Good. No, I've been listening for a while, and I just want to give a call in. And I think Michael's done a great job with our team. This past season we struggled with a couple injuries at the top of our lineup, and some of the players had to step up and go for things that maybe at the beginning of the season they thought were unreachable. And Michael's done a great job with the PVG and the follow-up and really getting to know each player individually. That we ended up making the NCAA tournament and ended up having a really, really powerful season. And I think a lot of the girls learned a lot about themselves, in terms of, adjusting their mindset in certain situations, realizing when they were becoming negative and challenging themselves and each other to be more positive and more kind of mindful. And I think it's been all in all. We just finished our season this past weekend, and unfortunately we lost in the first round against Georgia Tech in the first round of the NCAA tournament. But I just wanted to thank Michael, and we appreciate everything that he did.
That's great to hear, Rob. I know your team had a phenomenal season, so congratulations to you and congratulations to the ladies at Purdue for a great year. And I'm bummed I'm not going to see you guys in Athens, but maybe next year.
Yeah, no, I'll be down there. We're actually gonna take my family down for a little vacation, so I'm gonna watch a little bit of the tennis. So maybe I'll see you there.
You better come find me. Well, thanks for calling in. And we are coming to the end of our hour. So, Michael, I just wanted to give you the opportunity, if there's anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to mention. For those listening, we'll go off there live in just a sec, but you can catch the tail end on the podcast later this afternoon. So, Michael, any last thoughts or any information you'd like to leave us with?
I'm thankful and grateful for the opportunity for me to come on and share, my different philosophies and methods with, all of your listeners, and I certainly don't sleep at night, because my consciousness is keeping me awake, to help people. So I truly have a genuine love for people and want to help people achieve their dreams and, be happy and fulfilled with their lives. So, I certainly my lines are always open. Like I said, my phone sleeps on my pillow. So, and I'm not even kidding. So, if you want to reach me, by all means, please contact me, and we can talk about what you're going through with your little champions out there, helping them understand what their goals are and where they want to go, and me giving you more information about what the playbook is and how it could possibly be the tool, the solution to living the life of your dreams and experiencing things that you want. And I always tell people that I can help anyone. So, but the question becomes, I need to find out if I can help you, and how do I do that? I need to know if you're coachable, you're teachable, and you're willing to do the things that I ask you to do in the way that I ask you to do it. And if you do that, I know you're going to be happy with the results that you get in your life. So, again, I just, visit the site, humanperformancementors.com. You can email me at michael@humanperformancementors.com. Any questions, or if you want to discuss things with me, I always do a free info session initially. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just a commitment in time so we can learn about each other and see if, what path might be right for you, and go from there. So, again, I appreciate the time being here, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate so much you taking time out to share your work with us and your philosophies on mental training and mentoring. And I know I know a lot of people, yours truly included, that could definitely benefit from working with you. So thank you. To my listeners, thank you for tuning in. I hope I will see at least some of you over the next couple weeks down in Athens. So please look me up and tweet at me if you're going to be there, and we'll definitely connect. We have another great show on tap next week, so don't miss it. And some new articles coming on ParentingAces.com this week as well. Now that I've recovered from my middle child's college graduation, I can get back to the task at hand. So, Michael, again, thank you so much. To my listeners, thank you. See you guys on the court.